Now to that showdown in Texas. This is a live look now over our nation's capital, where at least 51 members of the Texas House remain. Now this evening, as they try to block a Republican-led voting bill. And in Austin, the Texas House has voted to send for those Democrats who flew to D.C., saying they will be arrested if they come back to Texas willingly. Now, this move doesn't have much weight since lawmakers are out of the jurisdiction of Texas law enforcement.
All kinds of drama here, folks. We have a lot of updates to get you caught up on surrounding this story. Our crews spread out from Houston to Washington to bring you the very latest, starting with Jason Miles and the arrest warrants for Democrats. Jason?
Yeah, lots going on up in Austin today, Lynn. You mentioned the House voting to arrest Democratic members if necessary. Meantime, debate over this controversial voting proposal happening in the Senate today because there are enough members there to start the debate, something that is not possible in the House thanks to this walkout.
With a lopsided vote along party lines,
there being 76 ayes and 4 nays, the motion is adopted.
The Texas House voted to try and track down missing Democratic members
for the purpose of securing and maintaining their attendance, under warrant of arrest if necessary.
State Representative Sean Thierry of Houston shared this video shortly after the vote, showing a House official accompanied by a law enforcement officer checking to see if she was there. But Thierry joined more than 50 colleagues in D.C., a trip aimed at preventing a quorum in Austin and prompting action in Washington, but drawing plenty of fire back home.
As soon as they come back in the state of Texas, they will be arrested. They will be cabined inside the Texas Capitol until they get their job done.
Among those praising Democrats today were 2 busloads of mostly union members traveling from Houston to Austin to lobby against the plan to ban 24-hour and drive-through voting and limit voting by mail, which Republicans say will help secure elections.
You know, voting is a civil right, and anytime that voting our rights are trying to be taken away from us, we take it very seriously.
What some see as expanded access to poll watchers took up a lot of the discussion in the Senate.
You're going to have physical encounters.
Something Republicans consider another misunderstanding.
The new language makes it clearer so folks know what the law is.
In a debate that seems nowhere close to ending.
And circling back to that vote to arrest House members if necessary, that's something Texas law enforcement cannot do as long as they are in D.C. And I just did a quick interview with Representative Sean Thierry of Houston, who actually joined her colleagues, as I said, in D.C. today, leaving early this morning and fearing arrest before she left the state. More from her coming up at 6. Back to you.
Interesting to watch how this all plays out. Jason Miles, thank you for that report.